Now we're going to get a bigger view of the area here. So this area is where we've been. Sea of Galilee, Dead Sea. Okay. So you can recognize when you're looking at a map, kind of feel your way around here. This is the Nile River, one of the only other green spots because it's got water. And then this peninsula here, this triangular shaped thing, is the Sinai Peninsula. That's what they call it. Whether Mount Sinai is there or not, no one's for sure, but it's called the Sinai Peninsula, so you know. Now this area that I marked in green is what is known as the Fertile Crescent. Why? Because nothing grows anywhere else? No, because there's water there. You got the Euphrates River is here, and the Tigris River is over here. And so you've got some water all along there, and a little rain up there, and you know, we've been in the land, we got some water there. Things, you have a source of water. So that's, just so you know, that's called the Fertile Crescent. If you hear that, you can kind of get an idea what...
Is it still considered that to this day?
Just as a name, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's more modern irrigation and stuff, but actually, you know, this part down here, this empty part, is about like that now. And it's really never been any different. Obviously, this is a satellite photo. It's not 2,000 years old. So that's what it looks like. Not a lot out there. If you hear the term Mesopotamia, I'm just giving you some stuff. Maybe you hear, maybe you don't. This is not a country. It's a region called Mesopotamia. Meso, between the rivers. Potamia. Between the rivers. That's all it means. So.
Where was the third river that made it for the Garden of Eden? You don't want to go
I don't know, because the Garden of Eden was washed away in the flood.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody knows. Okay. Egypt, this was the kingdom of Egypt. Egypt goes back about as far as we have big civilizations. So we'll start with Egypt. Pretty good command of some territory there. Then along comes Assyria. Talked about Assyria before. That's where Nineveh was the capital eventually. So, you know, eventually it starts out, and it's a decently sized kingdom for then. And once again, you've got people. You just don't have kingdoms yet. Egypt is basically the first. You've got Assyria. This area right here is sort of some people called the Arameans. So you call that region Aram. I didn't make a slide for it, but you have Abraham saying, "My father was a wandering Aramean." So that's where they're from. What do you suppose is the language of the Arameans? Aramaic. Good. I just wanted you to kind of get that connection. Just like the language of the Hebrews is Hebrew. All right. Now, this is Haran. That's where Abraham's father lived. This is Ur of the Chaldees, they call it, because the Chaldean people live down here. And he is down here, but that's not where he's from. And God calls him when he's down here. He says, "I want you to go over here." So he goes back home, and he goes down, goes through the land, over to Egypt for a minute, back into the land. So that's what's going on with Abraham. And I want you to maybe notice something as we continue on here. There's something about this territory here. No one ever goes here. Oh, that's a picture of Abraham when he was gone, yeah.
Group shot.
Yeah. It's my time-lapse photography. So where is he going? This is where he's going. We already saw that before. This is the land of Canaan. Now, the people that live there, I want to talk about ancient religions for a minute. Basically, worship around here of any kind of god centered on fertility. Because you want to make sure that you have food to eat, milk to drink, stuff to wear, your crops, your herds. It's got to work. So you ask for the only help you can, whatever the gods are. The people living here, as people everywhere, worship fertility gods. In particular, Baal. We say Baal. Baal actually just means master. Baal, there were Baals all over the place, and they would worship them. And this is what the worship was kind of like. The idea is that the god of fertility would have sex with his goddess, priestess, whatever. And the rain is the sperm. So they're having all this sex, and they're going to make the land fertile. If they like you, if you worship right, or whatever, if you please them somehow. So they do all their worship, but the whole point is to get something. In other words, I got to get something, a baby, or more sheep and more goats, or the crop, the harvest has to come in. We want to make sure. So they do this, and then the God goes away into the underworld, and you hope that he'll come back out, and you can do this again, and ask for more fertility. Well, where, in particular, if you could find a place where water comes up out of the ground, a cave, then that was like a guaranteed spot. Because water, right? That waters your crops, it waters your animals. That's a source of life. And if it's a cave, for sure, that's where the god goes to the underworld. That's how you get there, right? So if they could find one of these caves with water coming out of it, then they're like, that's the spot. That's the gate to the underworld. So the god will come and go from there, and that'd be a pretty important spot. Okay, I just wanted to touch on that. We're going to actually get to that later, but I wanted you to know that. Now, into this environment, Avram brings a different perspective on God. There's just one, and he wants to bless you. You don't have to do it right and beg him and whatever. He's trying to bless you. God calls Abraham. Why? To be a blessing. I will make you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed through you. So we learn something about God from his first choice of calling someone. He calls them to be a servant for the whole world, really. So his call on Abraham is to have him be a servant. Now they're great friends, all that, because Abraham relates well with God. But I think it's a nice thing to notice. He calls him, and we think he's chosen, that's special and all that. Well, that might be true. But he calls him for service. To tell the world, no, it's not this Baal thing. No, it's not these gods and God. No, there is a God, but he's like this. It's different. And there's just only one. That's kind of a new concept. So what I was looking at this, and I was thinking, okay, you got one kingdom here, and then you got another kingdom starting to... You always have people, like I said, but you got a big kingdom here, you're starting to have another big kingdom here, so God says, all right, it's time. There's starting to be these big societies. I need to send a guy in.
Why did God pick this particular place?
Blessed are you, Terry, son of... What's your father's name? Darwin. Blessed are you, Terry, son of Darwin. Flesh and blood did not give you that question, but our Father who is in heaven. That is what the rabbis would say when somebody asks a particularly good question, or shows that there's a particularly good insight.
I mean, you had those two big rivers up north. You had all that.
Watch this.
Okay.